The Howl, episode 2. Take one, Mark.
You know what we need to buy? We need to buy one of those little things with a little hammer that comes down like in Hollywood.
Yeah,
and we'll write right on it, Duluth Huskies.
You want one? I can get one for you.
How much are they?
I don't know.
Big D-U-L-U-T-H, Duluth, Duluth. Oh, that's my hometown. Duluth, Duluth. Oh, that's my hometown.
Hey, thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Graham Tuck, the host of The Howl, here with Jon Willis, social of the broadcast team for the Duluth Huskies. One series in the books for the Huskies this season, and it was one that they're going to try to forget rather quickly. They returned to Duluth for the home opener against Minot after dropping 2 to the Larks, but first games of the season are in the books. What was it like being with the team on the trip?
Yeah, it was a good time. We left 7:15 Monday morning, rolled in about 2:30. It's about a 7.5-hour trip. We got fed pretty well. We had Pizza Ranch at one point, but obviously not the results the Huskies wanted. But there was definitely some positive takeaways from both those games. Lot to like, but a lot to improve on as well. And so I think it was a nice way to open up the season, kind of a wake-up call maybe to look at what needs to be addressed headed into the home opener, and obviously now 2 off days to get ready for that home opener.
Yeah, and it's not just a home opener, a 4-game homestand to kick off the home stretch or the home portion of the season, I should say. But we'll get to the talking points about what was good later on. But the glaring number is the runners in scoring position and runners on base in general. 1 for 19 with runners on base in that first game of the season against Bismarck. It just can't happen like that.
Yeah, and it got a little better in game 2, but obviously that's not the numbers you want to see. It was about 150 batting average with runners in scoring position throughout the first 2 games. But when I talked to head coach Marcus Pointer after game 1, he said, while we weren't able to get hits with runners in scoring position, it was optimistic to see that we were getting runners on base. And now with some reinforcements starting to come, some more bats as well as some more arms, and obviously we'll get into that later. But he feels pretty good about where they're at in that sense. But obviously when you have runners at second and third, you got to get timely base hits, and the Huskies just weren't able to get that this week.
Right, and one of the things that we thought was going to be a talking point at the beginning of the season was the strategy about trying to steal as many bases as possible. Only 3 stolen base attempts in those first 2 games. Might have come as a shock to some people, but 2 for 3 when they did try to steal. What do you think is the approach moving forward in that regard on the base paths?
I think it's going to be a game-by-game thing. Obviously, you got to look at the catcher who's out there, what kind of arm he's got, how the pitcher, how his tendencies are. I think the pitchers for Bismarck did a nice job of getting the ball to the catcher's mitt quickly. Didn't have a whole long windup, but I think they're going to be more aggressive as the season goes on. That's been their staple last year. Obviously, it didn't happen a lot. Lucas Kelly was caught stealing at one point. Just didn't get a great jump off, but I know he'll continue to work on that. But I think as the season goes on, as they get more comfortable, is when they'll start to continue to run the base paths, especially with turf now at home.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the positives, 2 positives, I guess you could say. Max Coop, Caleb Corbin. They had 7 of the team's 13 hits through the first 2 games. Corbin batting .500 through that series against Bismarck. Those 2 have been lighting it up so far.
Yeah, they really have. And with Corbin, it was all done with singles game 1. It was back-to-back innings for him. Then he hit a triple in game 2, which kind of got some things started for the Huskies. Some really nice things to see from those guys. We expected them to have a pretty big impact. And then Max Coop, first pitch he sees in game 2, he sends, well over left field, first home run of the season for Duluth. And I think that was a big sight to see for the Huskies, because they had just, at that point, got the lead cut in half. The momentum was starting to swing Bismarck's way, but then Corbin with a triple home run from Max Coop. And at the time, they got up 4-1, and you felt pretty good about where they were. So especially with day 1 and how they were struggling with runners in scoring position, to see Coop send a big home run was very good to see for the Huskies.
Absolutely. And it's going to keep getting better because Duluth has a lot of guys coming in, namely Murph Gray. And people have been excited about him and Eli Sundquist all offseason once they got announced as players for the for the Huskies this season. They'll be joining the team shortly. What kind of impact do you expect for those two to have?
Well, Eli Sundquist is a guy who's been there, done that. In 2021, he was an all-star in the Northwoods. He's been dealing with an injury, but he's got some really, really good stuff, and he's going to come up and be one of the best pitchers out of the bullpen, not just on the team, but in the league. He's that good. He was an all-star, when he was a freshman in college, and now he's got some more experience under his belt. He did a nice job with South Dakota State this year. And then Murph Gray, that's the bat everybody's talking about, Mountain West Freshman of the Year. He won Mountain West Freshman of the Week 7 times this year. He's got a great bat. He's got a lot of speed. Really excited to see what those two can add to the team.
You talk about Eli Sundquist coming out of the bullpen. The bullpen was a struggle area for the Huskies in those first 2 games against Bismarck. And then another new lefty arm coming for the Huskies out of Arizona State. Talk a little more about that.
Yeah, I think just getting a lefty arm is going to be big because Huskies have thrown a lot of righties. Austin Humphreys, he's got some good stuff. Looking forward to meeting him. And then, a couple other guys, Alex Potter and Preston Tenney, the 2 Omaha kids are getting here. So that's just adding more depth to the bullpen. You mentioned it, 20 walks in 2 games against the Bismarck Larks. I thought the 2 starters did a pretty good job. DJ Burke had some good stuff, was just getting up there and pitch count a little bit. And then, unfortunately, Colin Linder threw 35-plus pitches in an inning, and so he couldn't come out for the 4th. So saw some good things from the starting pitchers, but you mentioned it's going to be that bullpen. And getting some more depth, just a couple more guys in there is going to be key for the Huskies.
Absolutely. So a lot of things to look forward to as the homestand to open the season starts Friday night against the Minot Hot Tots. Make sure you're there. And coming up after this, we'll have a talk, Jordy Platt and Jake Sirkus, with the owner of the Duluth Huskies.
Well, my father, he was a great cook when it comes to barbecue, and I kind of inherited some of that from him. Well, I get the joy of cooking from my 35 years of experience, and plus just to see the smile on people's faces when they first take that initial bite, give me all the pleasure in the world.
What makes your pork so special?
Secret rub with a lot of love.
Thank you, Graham and John, for that portion of the podcast. Now we're going to transition to the interview segment. I'm Jordy Platt. He's Jake Sirkus. And we have a special guest today, Duluth Huskies team owner, Mike Rosenzweig. Thank you so much for joining us, Mike.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me on today.
This is obviously an exciting and a stressful time of year for you. Do you look forward to these times as the season opener approaches, or is it more of a, there's so much to do, I'm worried about what needs to get done?
Well, that's a very good question, and I'm going to defer to the answer on this to my wife, who I think put it very well. It's sort of like we're putting on 36 nights of a Broadway show, and all 36 nights are supposed to be the same, but in reality, none of them are the same, and that's what happens when you're here at the ballpark, because you just don't know how things are going to run.
Talk a little bit about your background with baseball. How did you get into this type of business, and what kind of excites you about it each and every year?
Yeah, so I've been a baseball fan ever since I was a little kid, and had a chance to coach my 2 sons in baseball, in Little League and senior leagues, and it was always a lot of fun, and it was great working with the kids. There was a movie out a number of years ago called, I think it was The Bucket List, and on that bucket list there were these 2 guys that put together a list of things they wanted, and so I decided after watching the movie that I too would have a bucket list, and one of the items on there was to someday own a baseball team. Perhaps a very lofty goal, who knows. That opportunity finally came in 2011, and I bought the team originally with 2 partners, which I have since bought out, and now I'm the complete owner of the Duluth Huskies. And so baseball has been around me ever since I was a little kid, and we certainly have enjoyed it. And coming out here to the ballpark every day and working with the great interns that we have, and working with the great ball players, it's just a lot of fun. It really is. And every day just brings something new that I thought I had already experienced and I hadn't.
Being born and raised in Duluth and coming to Wade Stadium, growing up as a kid, what does it mean to you to be the owner of this team in Duluth that comes and plays their home games here? Just the connection to this city that you already have?
Well, it's an old ballpark. And with old ballparks come all kinds of issues and problems. But there is so much history to be had here that to be able to walk down the same halls as other major league players who came to the old Dukes in the old 50s and 60s and early 70s, it's just a wonderful feeling, and it really makes you understand that going back in time is okay to do. And when you get out here, you can really just put your cell phone away and everything and just sit back and enjoy some great baseball.
Summer ball is adamant across the entire U.S. And with the Northwoods League, it gives a unique opportunity for the 24 teams to really give these college players a chance to experience what it's like in the pros and especially in the minor leagues. Talk a little bit about specifically what the Huskies and the overall Northwoods Leagues gives to these college players.
Well, it's always said that when you go to college, you learn everything out of a book. When you get here to the Northwoods League, you are really beyond that. You are seeing the everyday challenges that come up from players being hurt, players not hitting the ball like they like to, the bad weather, the good weather, the teams that are just top-notch, those teams that struggle sometimes at the plate or out in the field. And it makes everybody realize that, we're all still human. And we're all going to have good days and we're all going to have bad days.
What are you looking forward to coming into this season in particular, either with the roster or just, stuff around the team that excites you coming into the home opener?
Well, the home opener is always, it's a great feeling. I get a chance to go out and greet the crowd and thank them all for being here and thank our host families and thank all of our sponsors and all the staff that work so hard to get ready for opening day. And after that, it's a lot of baseball. There's a lot of games in just a short summer season. But I have learned in my years of coaching as well, you can have a great day one day and have a really lousy day the next. And we just have to make sure that these kids realize that this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. And in that marathon, that is what's going to really set you apart from everyone else. I think this league and what it has been able to accomplish over the many years, now 30 years, this is the 30th anniversary, I think is just wonderfully important because it really shows what can happen when you continue to work hard for a long period of time. This league is number one in the country. There's no question about it for summer collegiate baseball. And we're just really proud to be a part of it as an affiliate.
This season for the Huskies, a little bit different. 20 years in the Northwoods League. Talk about that. How special is that?
Wow, 20 years. To do anything for 20 years is pretty good, I think. I bought this team back in 2011, so it's been a large part of everything that I've done, that my family's done, that all the people that have come through here have done, and it's been a collective action to get us to this point. And we're excited. We want to celebrate the 25th. We want to celebrate our 30th here in the Northwoods League, and it's a lot of work, but we enjoy it.
What does it mean to have Marcus Pointer back for another season? It's so important to have stability in the Northwoods League. It's something that's hard to come by. What does it mean to have him back here with his experience and his knowledge of Duluth?
Well, that's a good question. We're very happy to have Marcus back with us again this year. The longer you get a chance to keep a coach with the same team, I think the better they start to realize, as you mentioned earlier, everything about that team, from the weather, from what to expect, what kind of field you have, to the same management that he will be working with. And I think it lends for a lot of good interaction that isn't just for 11 weeks, but it goes on for a number of years. And I think that kind of stability is very important to have.
There are some new things coming to Wade Stadium this summer. Talk a little bit about the new things coming for the fans listening before they make their first trip to the Wade this summer.
Well, we have a number of new things. I'm going to start with food, I think, first. We're going to be bringing Weenie Wednesdays. We're going to do our Nathan's foot-long hot dogs, and I think that'll become a fan favorite. We were just taste testing today our new product, the Tater Hot Dish, For those of us who live in northern Minnesota and Wisconsin, y'all know what that is. The rest of you may not know. But the first, our home opener is against the Minot Hot Tots, and their mascot is a giant tater tot. So we decided, okay, in honor of that, we're going to do that. So we were sampling a number of different brands, and and actually it all tastes really good. And I think jalapenos on it will be a nice little added feature. And on those cold nights in Duluth, at least at the beginning of the summer, that tater hot dish in your hand in a nice 2-pound boat is going to feel really warm. And I'm thinking we're going to do well. We're going to do well with that. We're introducing some new items on the adult beverage side, a number of wine-based items, Long Island tea and margarita and some of the others. So that's going to be a couple of fun additions on that side. And of course, this year we're having Howard Q's pulled pork on our Harley's Nachos. Howard Q runs a local restaurant here in Duluth, and we've tried his product, and it's excellent. And it's just going to take the Harley's Nacho, which has always been a great seller for us, and move that up even on the ladder more. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Now I'm hungry.
Yeah. I'm really excited to try these food items. Goodness, so many options. Well, we thank you so much for coming to talk to us, Mike. And we really look forward to keeping this season going. The home opener is on Friday against the Minot Hot Tots, and this season is going to get ramped up very shortly, and we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week for the next edition of the Howl Podcast.
Are you taking audio from this? Yeah. Oh, you are? Yeah, so how is it?
Wow. Some great flavor. I like the meat and the potatoes. You know, it's the classic Midwest dinner, and it's really good.
Scrumptious, one might say.
What was that, John?
Scrumptious, one might say.
Graham, any thoughts?
I'm with Jake. I would have finished mine earlier if I had known that we weren't gonna.
This is the best thing I've ever eaten. Shout out Duluth Huskies concessions.
So many more options to try, too, folks. I mean, the pulled pork on the nachos. We've got a whole list of things. So Mike got us all excited. I'm personally very excited.
I mean, this is pretty wild for like a concession too.
Yeah.
Show me some other place where they're gonna have this at a concession stand, you know?
Oh.
If you're of age, I mean, the drink options, pretty amazing, too.